I trust them. I trust them with my life.
I don't know if I would be here today without all of their help and their support.
They were out of this world fabulous.
They treated me like I was a guest more than a patient.
The caregivers really are the true rock stars, aren't they?
Every patient deserves and should have the care that I'm getting at Summa.
I'm cancer-free because of them.
With every patient, every day, Summa Health delivers personal, life-changing care.
Yeah, I will, because I was going to, out of the frying pan into the fire this week. But no, it was with all the water that we had, that would have extinguished any fire, I guess. But what an amazing weekend that our young men have experienced. The rain will be one they don't ever forget, but the victory will be one that's very big for us here. Going up to Western Michigan and beating the defending conference champion at their homecoming event. And the way we did it, this was the highest scoring team in the conference, I think, or right there with Toledo, I think, and to beat them 14-13 the way we played, and the way our players played, the amount of perseverance they showed. I didn't realize how draining that would be when we sat there getting ready to go out at 3:30. And we went out in pregame warm-up, and it was raining heavy, and we're soaking wet. But both teams are just jumping up and down excited because it's like school kids. If you'd have had mud, it'd been everything they would have wanted. But they were so excited because it was just pouring. You knew it was going to be just no telling what happened. And then lightning comes. We get back in there, and we're told 30-minute delay. So they hold off. Then 30 minutes later, we get ready. Lightning hits again. We're 30 more minute delay. They get shoulder pads off, try to relax a little bit. They're still got all that anxiety, all that tension, and us coaches sitting there with all that, then delayed again. Then finally, after 2 or 3 of those delays, where you're mentally exhausted, just as you prepare mentally for an event like that, and then they're told we're going to play the next day at 1 o'clock. And then you say, well, that doesn't sound too bad. Then you drive, you can't find a hotel an hour and a half away. So that's an hour and a half drive after you get guys all dressed. And they're pretty mad because they want to play. They're not mad at me. They're just mad because they want to play football. And they hadn't really seen the field because they've been out of the locker room. They can't see the field. They don't know there is no field, only a river. But then we drive an hour and a half, and we get there just in time to eat dinner and go to bed to get up at 7 o'clock for a pregame meal in the morning and drive an hour and a half back. And I was thinking, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. I haven't played a game. But then they got to the field, and we had just said, somebody's going to want this game, and somebody's got to really want this game because it's tired. But they went out there and they played their hearts out, and we got after them early. I mean, if you're going to beat Western Michigan, you get ahead like we did, and got them in a 14-0 right at the beginning of the second quarter, and they probably threw a little bit more and changed a few things. Confidence made up, and we were able to play a little more conservatively because it was raining on offense to keep that lead as long as it would last. And it lasted all the way till the fourth quarter. And if anything, we played it probably too close to the vest, but you can't say that because we won 14-13. And sometimes it's just the way you got to play the game that you're playing that moment. And that's a long story, but I'm so proud of the players because that's a tough thing to do, to put one off till the next day. Because anybody that participates in athletics, it's not anxiety is not the word, how anxious you get to play a game, that your heart beats, all that it's very exhaustive. But it was good. I mean, it was a good win for our team. Awful proud of our players, and they worked hard for it, and they deserved it, and I'm proud of them.
Was that the first time, granted, at either Sanford
anywhere,
to have something like that? Postponed and then
had several rain delays till later on, and being in Florida, you would think somewhere along the line I would have got a hurricane delay because that throws people another week or later in the season. But I've never had one that delayed to a different time next day or to the later in the year, and it's almost impossible to do because of the logistics. There was talk I know of just saying cancel the game because you got another game next week. There's no hotels. There's no way to do it. Their field, they didn't even know until the next morning whether their field would even be usable. And we were ready. I think they had 2 fields lined up, College, Kalamazoo, and that one, depending on what they had to do. And so, but because of the way the schedule, 13-week schedule, you have no off weeks. There is no conference championship games. There is no way of making it up. And then what do you do if you're in the hunt for a conference division or a bowl game or whatever? And I'm sure they were sure not wanting to let Akron get away from there without playing that game. I know that much. And it sure was good to get it. But it was, all those things went through a lot of people's minds. And I thought their people did a great job of getting that field ready to play because it was almost impossible.
What was what is it with your defense at the start of games?
Mm-hmm.
They get that big play at the start. Tyron got that big interception. They were driving, and
you
made a 14-point swing.
You know, and you're exactly right. This has been the year. Every last 4 games at least goes. I might go back to Iowa State that we we created a turnover and got points to get ahead, and we got points ahead against them, and gotten ahead against several teams that we played. And by getting a turnover early. You know, coaches have our players. Coach Ahmad and his staff has done a great job of getting the defense prepared to what they're going to see. But I don't know what it is because that was a huge interception. Because when you play Western, they're such a strong running team, 230 or 40 yards per game rushing team. They usually pound you for a touchdown, maybe 10 points before you get it settled down and figure out how to stop them. And they were driving right down the field. And then Kyron Brown came up with that huge interception, 70-yard return, and we're on their 24-yard line. 2 plays later, we score. And so then they drive. They drive again the next drive because you're still getting a feel for them, and they miss a field goal. And it was a chip shot field goal. It wasn't a long. And so now you sit there, and then we drive. Now the next drive, we drive down 80 yards and get a touchdown again. And so. I don't know what it is. The defense done a good job of being prepared to recognize some things, but you know you got to be ready for whichever way it starts, whether you start ahead or behind. Because we told them you got to be ready for whichever thing happens. You know, which way you're going to go. Because against Buffalo, within 4 minutes of the game, West Michigan was up 10-0. You know, they had a 66-yard run, and they had a fumble recovery for about 60 yards and scored, and all of a sudden 10-0 within 4 minutes. Against Idaho, they were down 14-6 at half. So I told our players, man, it could be either way in this game. Just be ready to play 4 quarters.
Yeah, speaking of the defense, you know, you can't throw games out, but Penn State and Iowa State, other than that, you're giving up 12 points a game. And you are giving up yards, but they don't seem to be producing much for the other team.
Well, I mean, scoring defense is probably the only stat that really matters. You know, when it comes down to anything, just like on a down and distance, if you can stop every third down play, you don't matter what happens first or second. What doesn't have as much matters. You may never get to a third down, but I think the defense has been very good. Like I say, in the red zone, and that's what we've been making us successful as we have. They've had 2 teams that haven't scored a touchdown against us this year, and then Western Michigan got a touchdown and 2 field goals, just one. And Iowa State's turned out to be a pretty prolific offense, as has Penn State. But like I say, we'll get into Toledo in a second. We're going to face a very, very, very good number 1, I think, quarterback and number 1 running back in the conference this week, and they and they know what it means to beat Western Michigan. They'll come ready for bear. They'll come ready for bear, and we've got to come out there again and line up and play our best football.
Do you view this win over Western Michigan as kind of a stepping stone for the remainder of the season?
You know, I don't think I wish I could say every game is a stepping stone. If you lose one of those earlier conference games and then get this one, you're basically still got a loss in there because you're talking about trying to, you got to take them one at a time. You got to win your division. You got to go head to head with almost everybody in your division. So that game becomes most important because if you lose to a team that's in contention, that's 2 losses because you got to lose another, you got to win another one. So in a sense, they're all stepping stones. I mean, this was just a big win that you'd said if you picked out which ones are going to be the toughest ones, this would be right up there at the very top. And so you got that one. But I've been around too long to see all that got us was ready for the next week with another win because I don't think there's too many important games down the road with too many teams that are playing pretty good football right now.
With being a game on Sunday, did you notice a difference in the locker room from your players? Were they more amped up to go because they had to wait a day?
They had a mad on. Let's just say there was something. They were ready to play. They were mad because they got it was a real inconvenience. To be honest with you, I don't know. It's a funny thing because you say, God dang, I hope this mad is tempered toward the other team, because they just were mad about all this the way things happened. And there was a real desire to play that football game, and there was a real business-like manner. It wasn't like jumping up and down. This is so much fun, because it wasn't fun anymore. I mean, the waiting wasn't fun anymore. And when we drove to the game, it was pouring rain worse than it was the day before. It poured, and they're thinking, what did we just wait? Because the lightning's what eventually. Well, lightning originally caused the game to stop. But it would have stopped in the middle of the game because the field flooded, so we would not have gotten the game done. But there was a very matter of fact, let's go play this game. And I was hoping, man, I hope they're not just so mad that they're not focused on winning the game, but I'll say their frustration, they took it out the right way. They took it out in that football game and played with a lot of vented up energy and vented up frustration. And it was just, it's like I say, you had to be a part of that whole process. With those players came ready to go, you know.
Coach, you mentioned this a little bit yesterday, but it seemed like every time we turned around on Sunday, there was a local player making a big play. It
really was. We watched it in our TV show we were taping yesterday, and over and over and over again, it was Trevon Chapman making a catch, or it was Franchon Bickley making a catch, or Brian Rinke from Copley making a catch, Jamal Davis from Canton McKinley making a play, Deontay Moore from Kenmore making a play, and Booker from Barberton making a play, or Nate Bischoff from St. Vincent St. Mary making a play. Over and over and over again, those are the guys that those schools we weren't getting kids first couple of years I was here. They didn't want to come to a program that wasn't winning football games. But it started to change. And so those players, you can see the difference as these players start to play and contribute. And now you're getting guys, as you win games, you're seeing these local players that played in all these local high school games helping you win football games.
Another thing, when you mention the defense, you always talk about the turnover battle.
Mm-hmm.
You won it again. I think
we tied it. I think we tied it. Yeah, we threw an interception in the fourth quarter, but we didn't lose the turnover battle. And they are the leading. They lead the conference in turnover margin with a +5. We're a +1, but they turned it over. Let's say their turnovers was. Both of them led to touchdowns, so it ended up being negating itself. But I'll say, our turnover went for 70 yards. But it was a battle of who's going to lose the turnover. You can't give them too many at bats because they're too good at moving the football. And
baseball rule of you can't give a team an extra out.
No, it's the same thing, and I think that's been very important. As we it's hard to have a successful season and on the negative side, and we're just barely above right now. But we got behind in the turnover battle a couple games early, and slowly getting ourselves back.
Now you face, like you said, number one quarterback and Logan Woodside, number one running back Kerry Swanson.
Yeah.
They lost their top receiver, I believe, in the Michigan game, but that's a high-powered offense.
Yeah, I mean, this team beat Tulsa 54-51. They had Miami, but they lost. But the game was closer than that, And so this is a very good football team. Eastern Michigan lost 20-15. But like I said, Toledo's been a very, very good team in this conference, and have been. We beat them our second year in 2013, which was probably for those first 2 or 3 years the biggest win we had with our program until we beat Pittsburgh. But this is a team that's every they're at the top every year. They're right there, and if they don't play for the conference championship, they're going to a bowl game. And so this is a great challenge for us, and we know it because they're well coached. They do a great job coaching. And they load them up with and they're year in and year out, they're the most talented team in the conference, I believe, and I believe they're the most talented team in the conference this year.
You're pretty determined to keep the ball away from Darius Phillips, you can tell.
About
the opening kickoff.
Well, we can't. You know what? We were not going to. We were going to mix it up. And because said you can't kick it out of the end zone because 4 of his 5 touchdowns were 400 yards. But we made a commitment that fellas, if we can, they're the 3rd ranked efficient. I've never seen the ranking or where that comes from, but they were the 3rd ranked special team efficient team in the nation according to their game notes. And I thought we won the special teams battle. Really did. Phillips did not hurt us anywhere on kick returns. We sky kicked one time. We squib kicked one time. We kicked deep and tackled him inside the 25 one time. And punting, we were able to punt the ball and make him fair catch about every time. And even when he didn't get too much on us, maybe 3 or 4 yards one time. And their field goal kicker was 2 out of 4. And I think we made our only field goal. No, we didn't have a field goal attempt. We were okay there. But our coverage was very good. I thought the key to our special teams was going to be kickoff coverage and punt coverage. That was going to be, it wouldn't be, you can't always tell whoever's got the best kicker usually wins that game just because the guy can kick better than the other guy. But I thought the special teams would be won in our minds if our coverage team was great, because Phillips has a way of tacking a touchdown or so on somebody else's score, onto their score by giving them field position.
So you just kind of, you alluded to it earlier, with the halftime lead, and it was 11 points at halftime, right, 14-3.
Uh-huh.
And with the weather conditions and stuff, as long as you had that 11-point lead, you were going to be.
We were very concerned, but again, we missed, and we dropped 2 third-down passes. Yeah. We missed 2 third down. These are all wide open now. We dropped 2 third down passes. We missed 2. So in a way, we were being conservative, but with still on third down, we're trying to make the first down. If you're conservative, then you're running it probably with too much on first down. You're running it probably too much on second down, because they were geared to stop the run, and we weren't getting a lot out of the running game. But by third down, we weren't just going to run it and punt. We missed golden opportunities, maybe 4 times in the third quarter when guys open and dropping the ball or missing a guy open, and each of those led to just another chance. But you kept saying, our defense keeps holding them, because if they're not scoring, the best time of possession, if they don't score, then they're running the clock off for us. In a lot of ways, you're saying, let's let them get the ball deep, and we can't. They didn't. I don't think they were outside the 40-yard line one time in all their possessions. And so as they're driving the ball and controlling the clock, if you're tightening up and not getting them in the end zone, then they're, until they get within 1 score, you're pretty much letting them run the clock out as much as yourself. You're not doing it. Defense not doing it on purpose. But I'm sitting there as the head coach saying, as long as we're bend but don't break, the time of possession is only in your advantage if you score at the end of your possession. If you're playing somebody else that you're supposed to beat and you have great time of possession and don't score, all you're doing is keeping the other team in the game or the other team ahead of you. And so again, you want the ball back, you want it in your hands, but it can play to your advantage sometimes. I think in that day Saturday, because our defense has played so well in the red zone, it played a little bit, to our advantage, as opposed to 10. Like Toledo, they'll just go over top. They'll get you in one play. They'll get you if you don't play good. They'll get you in one play.
Did you get a chance to see Toledo defensively yet?
I've watched all. We got back at 10:30 Sunday night. I spent all day watching as much as I could. I watched. We tried to grade our film, but didn't let the players had to get them off a day, which they usually come in and practice on Monday. They need to get off. And so we had a lot of film. So I've just watched their defense, because I fool around with the offense so much. I'll watch their offense a little bit later, but just from a curiosity standpoint, because I usually don't walk down there and tell my defensive coach what to do. I just kind of want to watch to get a good feel for some of their players. But I've coached all my life like that, And but I have seen enough. If you watch TV enough, I've seen Toledo play a lot of football because they've been on TV a lot, and I've watched them play. And their quarterback is a winner. He's a winner. Whether he's a pro or whatever, he's a winner. And that's what impresses you the most about their quarterback.
Just a kind of a technical point of order, because we were totally confused.
Right.
When they kicked that final field goal, and it's the roughing the kicker.
It was a running into the kicker, they said. The punter or the field goal.
On the field goal.
The one they made.
Personal foul. It was not the personal foul.
They told me running into the kicker. Okay. And buddy, I have been so nervous about that, because with our players, I said we have to make. I'm not sure we made it clear to our players. 14-10. I'm not sure how we got to. You don't go laying out right there, because a field goal is not going to beat us. But a roughing the kicker will give them an automatic first down, and a touchdown will beat us. And I didn't see your signal, but that's interesting to know.
Personal foul, but it wasn't.
Well, that was They changed the signal. They changed the calls a couple of times. Biggest thing was every time the clock stopped. This was, if y'all saw it, 6 times the clock stopped, and 6 times they asked to put more time on the clock. Never did they ask to take. Never did it go our way on the thing. Never ever did it go our. It went this. In other words, it's there. That clock. Every single time they stopped the clock, they had to put more time back on it. So I don't said somebody up there doesn't know how to run a clock, or they're trying to help us win by running too much. And I just can't imagine the clock operator at that stadium trying to help us win because he was taking too much time off the clock every single time, or somebody's being talked into putting time on the clock. It was unusual. I've never seen it where the announcer says, put 2 minutes, 2 seconds back on the clock, put 3 seconds back on the clock every single time. And I said, that's just really weird. You know, it's like you roll dice. If you hit 6 every time, you got to check those dice.
Coach, looking back now, how much did it help that Western had played 7 overtimes? Because you saw a lot of their offense on tape.
I know. It's funny. Offensively, I said, this is awesome. We see everything they can't, everything in the red zone that hurts them, we can see it all. We didn't get in the red zone one time. We never got in the red zone. It's because you saw 7 periods of red zone offense against them with Buffalo, and we scored twice from outside the red zone and didn't get to the red zone the rest of the day. So, but I think our defense stopped them in the red zone continually, so you have to say, and they had to use everything they have. You know, when you've got to score touchdowns, all their trick plays, their reverse passes, their throwbacks to the quarterback, they had to use all of those. Offensively, again, we didn't get it. We weren't able to. Defensively, we probably saw a good short yardage, a good bit. You get to see a lot of. You get to basically see a game and a half.
It seemed like they didn't surprise you with anything offensively because you saw most everything.
Usually they defense did a good job of being prepared. Again, with a good job being prepared. You know, it's like I say, it's hard to once you get to Tuesday, it's hard to talk too much about that because now it all starts over again. But again, thank goodness y'all are asking the questions, and it's about the end of Tuesday. It gets to be a half about one we're not allowed to think about anymore. We come in here and we think about it for one more session and get back on Toledo. But again, the kids deserve to be patted on the back. And you know, Alvin Davis had 13 tackles. He's been just a phenomenal player for us. Ulysses had a big sack to win the game. You know, like I say, offensively, we just did enough. We made enough plays. I think the newcomer is Booker with Newman Williams out. Kobe Booker is at 270 pounds. I think he's not as tall as most tight ends. It doesn't look out there intimidating at 6'1.5". But when he's 270 and he's very, very athletic, I think people began to see some of his stuff. He had 2 big pass plays.
Do you think he's emerging as a reliable offensive playmaker for you guys?
You know, yeah, mostly, yeah. But in our offense, that's mostly been a blocking position, but it does allow that position to be all it can be, because if you can get some 3 or 4 catches out of that position, that H-back, tight end, big blocking guy, then that really helps your running game. If people jump inside for it, also he floods out the side. Both plays he made were big plays because they were overplaying the run. It becomes critical if you get your run formations and are able to throw it to those guys that are seen mostly as blockers. And I'm not telling Toledo anything where they don't see on film, but it gives us a little more advantage if they have to be careful how much they attack the line of scrimmage. They let that tight end go. So I think that's helpful. If you got 5 eligible receivers and you don't throw to one of them the whole game, eventually they're going to start. Defense has an easier time playing 4. That's why some coaches count the number of receptions each person gets just to make sure they're keeping the defense off balance.
Finally, I don't know, but having one less day of practice this week, which you hadn't planned for at that time, where sometimes you can't.
Right.
Does it change much with what you're going to
No, we didn't let it, because Monday is a day we usually we have to have them off one day, so that's usually Sunday. Monday we go out there, we show them the film of the game they just played for 2 hours, and then we go over corrections of mistakes that we made. And then we introduce formations and plays of the new team. So it's fairly introduction for about 1 hour. We let them off completely on Monday. They could come in and watch video of the game themselves if they wanted to on Monday, and we'll add that and the corrections we'll make in the meeting room. So they needed the time off. But I've been in regular season where we let them off Mondays, even when you're not on a Saturday. When it gets later in the season and they're tired, it's just later in the year that becomes corrections, you're correcting. You can correct things without having to go back out there quite as much.
You said you guys got back 10:30 Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
You left Friday?
We left Friday at noonish. About 5 to 4.5 hour trip, and it was, and the thing, it was so much. Well, 700. It was a lot of drive, and it was just there was the amazing things is when those kids got up to go to play that game. From that point we got on that bus to go play that game until we actually played it. It was nonstop, and mentally nonstop. You know, and you laid in bed and watched a little bit of a. Who was it? Who got beat? Clemson or got beat by Syracuse? Yeah, but you couldn't even stay up to hardly to the end of that one, you know, and then have to get up at 7:30.
I saw the photos through Twitter and Zips Football Twitter.
Yeah.
Was there other areas flooded around that stadium? There had to be.
Everything. The parking lots.
Completely underwater.
Well, in the parking, when you come out of your dressing room, you stepped into 5 inches of water. Okay. Their dressing room was flooded, I think I heard. But the water, in other words, the field is crowned, so it just leveled off about with just a little bit in the middle, and it went out into the parking lot and went out into the building area surrounding the field. So
I think the official count was 1.4 million gallons.
it was something. It was really. I mean, in Florida, you're used to rains like that in Florida, but the soak, they get soaked up very quickly. And it just like that, and it rains so fast and so hard. I've never seen it happen so much, so fast, like that. It was amazing. And but anyway, we got the game over. Been a lot tougher to go through all that and have lost, you know, and then have a short week and to get that one under your belt.
I mean, you've coached a lot of games. Is this one of the top 5 most memorable 2 or 3 days for you?
It's the most memorable. It's a very memorable couple of days. Yeah, it really was. Yeah, it's a big as far as Akron games go. I mean, I'm so proud for these guys winning the game. You know, it's beating Western Michigan, being 3-0 in the conference. At least for 1 week, that's awful good. That's an awful good thing to have since we've never had it. But just the whole experience of staying overnight, like I say, I'll never forget it. You know, just as from an experience standpoint, if it ever has to happen again, I'll know what I want to do and don't want to do. You know, it's hard to find 100 hotel rooms anywhere. Anywhere. It's hard to find 100 hotel rooms within a couple hours, and so we found one in Lansing, Michigan. And you can imagine, see if they've got enough chicken to serve 100 guys, or enough food to serve 100 guys. It's a lot of questions have to be answered. And it worked out pretty well. All righty.
Yeah, thank goodness Michigan State.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it was homecoming.